Bonjour, les amis. Welcome back to GenerateHER. If you're new here, I'm so happy to have you. And if you're returning, thanks for coming back. Wow, it's been quite a season. And today is my finale for season 1. And goodness knows I've had so many topics running through my mind recently. I got overwhelmed with what I wanted to share in season 1 and make it count. And then I realized there is no end just yet. There's going to be a season 2 and perhaps a season 3, and who knows? Welcome to GenerateHER. I'm Jane Bertch. I spent the first half of my life working in a corporate organization, and then I decided to trade that all in to become an entrepreneur. Yes, here in your favorite city of Paris, France. And today, I hope I'm a guide on your journey to personal reinvention and transformation. So I'm not going to give myself anxiety around our departure from each other. And very much like in France, we only say au revoir when we know we're not going to see each other again. Like you'd say when you're walking out of a shop, au revoir. But for friends, we say a bientôt. I will see you soon. So that's the spirit I'm going to end season 1 with. I will see you soon. And so I thought, what should be the finale for season 1? And it seemed best to me that the finale be a recap of our time together. And I've so loved doing all of these episodes. And I've grown into them. And I truly, truly, truly would love to be sitting with you over a glass of wine and talk for hours. But hopefully these little snippets will give you a bit of insight into life in France, into the life of a business owner, into the life of somebody who's constantly on a search and a journey. And frankly, I think we all are. I don't think anyone has all the answers. So I hope you've enjoyed the ride. So with that, let me get into a recap of our time. And I'm going to reference the episodes associated with them because now it's summer. And summertime means school is out, but it's time for summer school. So I want to send you away with some homework. And let me start with episode 14, Your Jardin Secret. As I say that, my friend Virginie, who's French, will be laughing because I don't pronounce secret perfectly. That's one of the words I'll just never get. But it's your secret garden. And I talked about the concept of that's where you plant your dreams. That's where you plant your seeds. And we talked about how long it can take for a seed to pop up through the soil. And now that we're in summer and it's hot and you've planted your seeds, you should be continually watering and nourishing them. I hope you're watering and nourishing those seeds. And perhaps you're starting to see a breakthrough with one or two. Maybe some of those seedlings are popping above ground. But they're still delicate. And they need care and attention to continue to grow. And like with any garden, don't forget you have to maintain it. And that means plucking out those weeds. That means getting rid of those nasty, destructive thoughts, perhaps those destructive circumstances you're in. Might even be the people in your universe that you need to pluck out. Or at least just not give them access to your secret garden. So I'd love you to think about how you're maintaining your garden over this summer in hopes that you'll be ready for a harvest this fall. And in maintaining your garden, sometimes you need to ask for help. So that's episode 7. And in asking for help in France, one thing I've really come to appreciate is you do that very, very carefully because you do it with thought and intention. And you're going to be in a better position to ask for help once you have a relationship with someone. And that means time and trust and commitment. And when you ask for help, in my mind, it's always a stronger position to be able to offer something to them. Isn't it wonderful to approach someone and say, listen, I have noticed that you've been doing this. I've got a great tool for you. And by the way, will you please help me with X? Let's go back to a good old barter system where we thought intentionally about the information or the products that we could exchange with each other to make sure that we're both growing. Above all, I keep always the spirit in mind that people are banks. You cannot continue to make withdrawals without making a deposit. So while you're maintaining your garden, if you need help, think about that. And in your garden, maybe you need to take a few risks. Maybe you need to decide which seeds you don't want to grow anymore. Maybe you decide that you want to plant something new in it, even at this late stage. And that's okay. And you'll remember in episode 8, I talked about 4 key elements of taking risks. For me, there's 4 things that I need to do to take risks. I need to have curiosity. I need to have courage. I need to have community. And I need to have a sense of creativity. And I know you don't need 4 all the time in equal measures. Where I don't have courage, sometimes my curiosity to move forward kind of takes over. If I don't have curiosity, perhaps I have a community behind me that's encouraging me and pushing me along. I mean, communities are everything. And if I don't have community, maybe I'm feeling very courageous. And so I get up and keep going forward. And then, of course, you need a sense of creativity. And you'll know this is so important to me. I think creativity underlines everything we do. And we have to steal that back. We have to steal it back because I think a number of us are in situations where we've forgotten how to express it. We've forgotten how to approach life with that childlike curiosity that makes us creative. And if you don't feel creative, you have a tough time reimagining things. I say this till I'm blue in my face. If you don't feel creative, you cannot reimagine your business. You can't reimagine problem solving. You can't reimagine yourself. And that's not a great place to be in. And in all of those, sometimes you need to buckle down and really think about how do you center yourself so you can be focused on how to intentionally ask for help, so you can be focused on maintaining your secret garden, so you can really think about taking risks and go into all of those with a position of power and strength. So I invite you to listen to episode 17, where we talked about meditation, and I had the wonderful guest, Eugenie Lambert-Buckstein, who's got just an incredible background. So not only will she impress you, I believe, with her background and this new purpose that she's found, you'll also get a really interesting insight into French culture. And then, of course, my favorite tool beyond meditation, which I think is a business tool, by the way, gals, is journaling. My favorite practice. And journaling has led to so many things for me, including a memoir and including having the courage to do my podcast. And the art of journaling is so precious. It's your little mental capsule. It's where you put your dreams, your ideas, your anxieties, all the things that you want to evacuate. I encourage you to journal, and I'd love for you to listen to the episode that I did with Natalie Valmari, episode number 24, who's an amazing founder with an incredibly insightful, touching story about life. I think you'll be dazzled. And that was episode number 24. And writing. Journaling, yes, is writing, but I want to differentiate them. I talked about all the wonderful things that the world of writing opened to me in episode 22. And I will say that journaling was the precursor, but writing has put me into a different box. Now, we're all writers. We are all writers. Whether or not we publish is different. Whether or not we sound eloquent all the time is different. But writing has given me a new purpose. Just daring to pick up my pen and sit and formulate my thoughts in my journaling and now in my newsletter, Prompts from Paris, has opened up a whole new world for me. And my greatest discovery has been me and what I enjoy and how I express myself and being able to be vulnerable and being able to talk about things very different than the business that I'm in day to day. And I think that is absolutely crucial for business owners and small business owners in particular, to find a way to carve out your space. And writing has given me that tenfold. So I'd encourage you again to listen to episode 22 and think about all the magic that writing will give you. And then, of course, I talked a lot about French culture along the way. How can I not? I've spent 20 years of my life here, and that's an awfully long time. I'd like to think I arrived when I'm 3, which is my joke, haha. But no, I was well beyond 3 years old when I arrived in France, but 20 years is formative. So I was talking with a friend the other day who is French, and I said something, and she said, "Jane, you are so French." And I thought, well, I laughed. I don't know how many times in the past 20 years I've been called French. I can tell you, I could probably count them on one hand if I think about it. At the same time, in another breath, she'll say, "Jane, you're so American." But I've been thinking a lot about what it means to be French and all the wonderful things I've learned here. And that certainly does form who I am. It certainly probably comes across in this podcast with what my values are and what my thoughts are and how I approach people. It can't but. That's just really a part of who I am, even though I'm still very North American in spirit. And one thing that the French have always impressed me with is their ability to turn the mundane into the extraordinary. And I talked about this in episode 19, and I've been fascinated with it. And thanks to this podcast and thanks to writing, I look at things differently. I study them. I ask myself why, because I want to be able to share it with you. So the French have been able to take buildings. I have to imagine that buildings from an engineering point of view are all very, very similar. But they're not just buildings here, are they? They're works of art. They're harmonious. In some person's eyes, the description of cream and tan can sound so bland. But that is the artistry of the Parisian landscape. All of these creamy, beautiful beige and tan buildings just pop up around the city with such ornate architecture. So it's not just a building. It's an eye candy. And I talk about door knockers. You walk past a door and a door knocker looks like a piece of jewelry or just a simple window dressing in France. And I tell a story where I did go into a store asking for a scarf off of a mannequin. And the woman in the store refused because it would mess up her display, because her display was beautiful. And why would she compromise it just to sell me a scarf? And I thought, that's taking the mundane, which is a storefront, and making it extraordinary. It's much more than just a storefront. It's the entry into her second home. So find your ways to turn the mundane into the extraordinary. And I hope it puts you at ease that even I, living in Paris, have to search for that. Even I, in this beautiful city, walking to the Seine every day, I have to search for things to bring me happiness. And it's that treadmill we're all on. When we become used to something, we fail to see it. So wherever you are in the world, try to look at things with a fresh eye. Try to turn your mundane into the extraordinary. Even if, like me, it's putting your dish soap into a beautiful container. And speaking of containers, in episode 18, I talked about the things I've learned from attending French dinner parties. And they are a marvel in French culture. You see so many things going on. You see the ability to debate heavily, ferociously, and still get up as friends. Wow. You see the care that the host and hostess put into laying out a beautiful table for their guests. You see the thought of who they're going to invite, carefully curated list of guests to make sure that it's a wonderfully successful evening. And I suspect in their eyes, success means everybody ate well. There was robust discussion, meaningful discussion, and they left happy. But one of the greatest lessons I've learned is in curating that list of people, they think very carefully about who's going to sit at their table. And that, to me, is an enormous life lesson. Think really, really carefully at who you want sitting around your table. There's a lot to unpack there. And speaking of sitting around your table, sometimes you have those people that are there in spirit. The people that you'd love to have around your table. And I talk about that in episode 9. Get yourself role models. Get yourself people that inspire you to be your best. And it's hard at some ages. Somehow we forget to talk about the importance of role models past a certain age. And I realize the beauty of role models is they give you a vision to the future version that you would like to be. They're your vision board. So if you're struggling to figure out who and what you want to be, and you have the right to change that at any age, look around you and see who inspires you, who lifts you up, who makes you want to do better. And I'm not talking about influencers. I'm not talking about people who encourage you to buy a trench coat. I'm talking about people who give you hope and who inspire you to shine. Get those people around your mental table. And lastly, I talked, and this was the most popular episode, about what it means to be French. According to Jane, as we know, all of this is according to Jane. You know that. And I got inspired to talk about that because we put so much pressure on ourselves sometimes to be something that we're not. And I am not French. And I never will be. And you know what? I'm so fine with that. And I feel bad for people who aren't. Because I'll tell you, my secret weapon is that I'm not. And because I'm not French, I can push a door open that a French person wouldn't. I can make mistakes that a French person wouldn't dare do. I can walk in and introduce myself without the proper présentation or introduction that French people require. I can mispronounce things and be just as okay with it. And I've still managed to carve out my little precious part of Paris in not being French. And frankly, not worrying about it. But there are so many lessons to learn from my French comrades. So I invite you to listen to episode 12 about what I think it means to be French. And what I think it means is to have deep, meaningful friendships. I think it means to develop relationships that are long-lasting. I think it means to value your personal time as much as you do your work. Imagine that. I think it means to enrich yourself with the arts. My French friends are so well-versed in the arts of everything. I wish I had that same level of knowledge that they do. I think it means to read. I think it means to respect different opinions. If you want to talk about the economy in France, you're going to speak to a boulanger. So those are the things that I think it means to be French. Those are the values that I think we need to focus on. Not how you wear your hair bun, not the shoes you have, not how to tie your scarf. I think there's a few other things there. So there we are, my friends. That's our finale of season 1 together. If you know anyone that would love to have a few little insights, please send this to them. Maybe this will be a little teaser to get them to listen. And if you'd enjoyed it, I'd love for you to take time to write a review. Those are so important. But in any case, I'm so pleased to have spent these last weeks with you. I thank you for being here. I'll be working hard on season 2 over the next month. I'd love your feedback. Don't hesitate to email me or reach me on Instagram. Let me know what we should be talking about. We've got a lot of important things that we can share together, and I want to make sure I'm on track with what interests you. And I always say it, you know, I love journaling. You can find on my website a section for journaling. I've got a 30-day journal prompts to get you up and running. So don't hesitate to check that out. And with that, I'll leave it there. And as you know, I won't say au revoir. I'll say à bientôt, mes amis.